Hello, and welcome to this installment of Talking Local. In the Talking Local series, we put some searching questions to the great and the good of the local search world. We want to know what they're up to, what motivates them, and what advice they have for other people who are toiling away in the murky world of local search. Today I'm joined by two great guys that I had the pleasure of getting to know on our recent Inside Local webinar series and also through our quarterly expert surveys. Welcome to Matthew Hunt and Dev Basu. How are you guys doing today?
Great, Miles. Thanks for having us.
Guys, it's a real pleasure.
Hey, Miles. Thanks for having us.
Matt and Dev are both well known in the local search industry. Based in Toronto, they are regular fixtures in the search conference circuit and also contributors to the highly regarded local search ranking factors study. Until recently, they both ran separate and successful marketing agencies. Then in March of this year, they combined forces with a third agency to create a superpower, which is poweredbysearch.com. I found this merger intriguing, and I wanted to understand what the motivations were behind it. And that's what we're talking about today, the what, the why, the how of this merger, and what drove these guys who are running their successful agencies to come together. So guys, how long have you both been involved in the local search industry, or indeed the local marketing world? Dev?
So I started in SEO back in sort of 2006, and I think my first foray into local was in 2007. Started working with Google Maps and had a background in the Yellow Pages industry, so I started to learn how the flow of data worked in Canada, and then finally how it worked in the States as well. So it's been since 2007, so it's been a while.
Great. And Matt?
Hey, Miles. I ended up in this industry, just falling into it. I didn't mean to end up at all. I built my first website in 2007 just so I could sell more point-of-sale terminals so that I could feed me and my family. But no, I mean, and then it just snowballed from there. Next thing, after building my own websites, I'm realizing there's this whole world out there of local search.
Great, excellent. Thanks, guys. So since you both started, how has the kind of the local search arena changed? What are the most significant changes that you think you've seen in that time? Dev?
I think that's a great question. So I mean, a lot has changed since 2006, 2007, the wild west days of local search. You see the huge uptake in mobile, for example. I think 2007 we had the first smartphone, like the iPhone, come out. I think that was the first generation of it at that point in time. Might be wrong about that, but that really changed the game in terms of people starting to use their smartphones to start looking for things online on a local basis. Geolocation got a lot better, so now even on your laptop, Google's able to kind of pinpoint you down within 5 or 10 feet of where you really are. The tools got a lot better, so you have tools like Brightlocal or like Whitespark, for example. The IYPs got better in terms of their search capabilities and the amount of data that you had. And I would say, finally, I mean, just the adoption of local search around both implicit and explicit-based searches, where the search engines are getting better and better at understanding which queries had local intent, which ones didn't, for example, really gave birth to a better local search industry. Because local search did exist before the way we know it today, but it was more of that Yellow Pages sort of world, right? You look at like the Local Search Association, for example, and the type of work that those guys have been doing, for example, sort of search engine optimization for local search, for example. And I think there's a lot of changes, but it's a very exciting time right now. Another big change that I can think of is a company like Yext, for example, being able to push data on the fly to some of the core directories in the States. And I think that's going to continue happening throughout the rest of the world. We don't have it yet in Canada. We don't have it in the UK or Australia or some of the other countries that have a fairly mature local search presence yet. But I think that's the direction it's headed in.
Great, excellent answer. And Matt, you're up.
Hey, so I think I agree with just about everything that Dev had to say there. What I think is really interesting, and this is sort of looking at the future of local. I think really we've only scratched the surface of where we're going to go. with local. You know, I look at my kids today, and I've got a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and I look at them on this iPad, how they're just, you know, zipping around on it like it's no big deal. And I think to myself, man, this is going to be the worst device they ever use. They're going to look back when they're our age and go, you remember that toy we used to play with, the iPad thing? And so I think, you know, just imagine where we're going to go in the future where, you know, it's already starting to happen where we're getting these real-time offers. I mean, I just literally can't wait till the technology gets so good that I'm walking down the street and I'm going to be in front of, you know, some cafe or bagel shop, and I'm going to get some notification right on my phone in real time about some sort of offer that I can walk in and redeem it with my phone at that very moment. You know, all the geotechnology that's getting better and better and better, I think that's what's really exciting, not only just for, you know, big businesses, but even for the small businesses.
Okay, that's great. So you've got a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Poor man.
I do.
Your life must be very busy.
But I know you're in the thick of that too.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're 7, 5, and 3. So yeah, I'm ahead of you. Whew. I'm a year ahead of you. I'm a year more out of the woods. Okay, so next question. So you guys obviously been in the local search game for a long time. You both had independent, successful agencies, and as I said earlier, March of this year, you kind of came together and consolidated under the Powered by Search brand. Now, what were the primary sort of motivations for kind of coming together? You know, what were the reasons that you kind of chose to sort of partner up, both in general about your businesses and specifically with each other? And you know, how long have you been talking about this before you kind of took the steps to actually do it? Okay, so Dev, you go first, please.
Okay, sure. So we partnered because we wanted to grow better and faster and avoid making some of the same mistakes that we were making individually in our own agencies. You know, 3 heads are better than 1, and I think that when we were kind of operating in our own siloed agencies, we were running into some of the same issues, and we talked about some of the same issues as well. So Matt and I have known each other for a long, long time, and we'd get together for a beer and say, like, hey, have you been running into this? And he'd be like, yeah, totally, I've been running into that, right? And we've been joking around with each other, but possibly working with each other at a closer level for a couple of years now, actually. So we got together last summer, and we met our third partner, Warren, at the time. At that point, and we started talking and said, you know, what would happen? What would it look like? Can we imagine a super agency, as you call it, Miles, around? Could we have better efficiency? Could we do a better job for our clients, for example? Could we move faster? Could we build training programs for our staff, for example? All these things that we individually had thought of, because we were thinking about what the next couple of years would hold for us, each individually. We're coming across the same challenges. It was a time challenge, and it was about, we have more ideas and time really to execute them, and coming together would help us each focus and kind of divide and conquer. So that was one of the main primary drivers of coming together as an agency.
So Dev, thank you very much. That's a great answer. So now that you are kind of partnered up together, do you find that there's less pressure on you now? Or do you find that, you know, being part of a larger agency with more clients, more staff, and also, you know, having partners in the business that you've got to work closely with and probably run ideas past, does that put more or less pressure on you at work and also on your, you know, your kind of private lives as well? So Matt, why don't you go for that?
Sure, Miles, that's an excellent question, and you know, I was concerned a little bit when we're partnering whether this would work or not. We always say, oh my God, you know, when you're running your own show, you literally are your own boss, and so, you know, it is different. But the fabulous thing that's happened is that for me, I've discovered it's been the best decision, and I can't speak for Warren or Dad, but it's been the best decision that I've ever made. You know, I'm finding that you know, even though it takes a little bit more time sometimes to have a meeting to make a decision on some items, what I've discovered is that I'm making better decisions. You know, if I look at this business, it's never been stronger and better, and you know, so it's really, really great to have equals to bounce things off of, and so, it's been absolutely amazing. And then we can also divide and conquer. I mean, the big thing is, before there just wasn't enough time in the day, just not enough, hours in the day, minutes in the hours, and constantly running out. But now that there's three of us, we can sort of say, okay, what is it that we want to work on, and we can just go away and get that done. So this business is just growing so fast, and I would imagine that it's going to grow 10 times faster than ever would just me trying to do it myself. So I think I encourage people to do this wherever possible when it's right for them.
Okay, that's great, Matt. Thank you. Question for Dev here. Having kind of equals in the business, having partners, do you feel that's kind of improved your own way that you work, your own understanding, your knowledge, the efficiency with which you tackle tasks? Okay.
Yeah, I would say absolutely it has, because see, in the past it was about you'd come up with some ideas and you'd wrestle with the pros and the cons in your own mind, and that's exactly what I used to do. I'd play out scenarios of how a particular decision would play out, and I think that as smart as one can be, that often still leads to tunnel vision, because you kind of go, you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know, and that's a huge advantage of having smart partners like Matt and like Warren, and take those ideas and bounce them off each other, and they often bring a perspective that I would not have had, right? It's about being able to complement each other and look at bringing experiences to the table that not all of them are always very similar. And that's a good thing in my opinion, because somebody else's experience, when they bring it to the table, they add a completely new perspective to it. So yeah, it's made me much more efficient. We've done a whole bunch of things around everything from the way we train to how we track time, and basically look at how we're generating an ROI on a project, for example. So whether it's looking at the financial aspect of things, or we're looking at the onboarding of clients, even things like measuring the happiness of our team. We use a tool that basically sends out a survey every week, and we can get to pull people essentially on how happy they are at work, whether they understand exactly what their expectations are in terms of their role, where would they like to go next, et cetera, et cetera. And all of those have been a pooling of ideas. It's definitely made me as an individual much, much more not only knowledgeable, but I know that these two guys have my back as well, just like I've got theirs.
Great, that's excellent. Dev, you mentioned your clients there. How do you think your clients have benefited from the merger itself? Matt, I've got a question for you in a second, so Dev, if you want to answer that one, that'd be great.
Okay, so I think our clients have really benefited from the merger in a couple of different ways. So coming back to the partners in general, so one of the things that's different about Powered by Search is that we allow our clients to work directly with the specialists that are on their account. So unlike other agencies, we don't have like an account manager that's essentially a layer of management between the account and the team that's actually working on it, the people who are doing paid search, local search, citations, link building, whatever that might look like. And when we were our own single agencies, sort of the head of knowledge, the head cheese was always either Matt, myself, or Warren. But now what's happened is we're able to leverage each other. So a client, if they, for whatever reason, for example, they need to talk to one of the partners, they now have two other people beyond myself to be able to talk to or reach out to. And that's led to a lot of different, advantages, even in the programs we're putting together. So, for example, Warren's company brings a great deal of expertise around website design and development that Powered by Search didn't previously have. Matt's got great programs around social that Powered by Search previously didn't actually do. So there's new skill sets that we're bringing in as well. So we're able to offer much more comprehensive solutions to clients, where we're not going. We're actually building out plans and programs for them that are multi-year programs, where we're saying like let's play the long game, and here's what you need to get there, and it's a step-by-step program that looks at acquisition, behavior, and outcomes for their business. We're not thinking campaigns anymore. We're thinking about how do we partner for the long term and grow digital assets for our clients, basically, that benefit them in the long term.
So by coming together, you've obviously kind of pooled your kind of knowledge, your resources, you kind of built out the kind of competencies, which is great. So having that more kind of SEO muscle within the agency, has that helped you to land bigger clients, to retain clients or to kind of extend the kind of what you offer them to essentially affect your bottom line with existing clients? Let's cut to Matt for that.
Hey, Miles. Yeah, that's a great question, and it's going to sort of extend a little bit off of what Dev was saying there is, before when we were working with our clients, we were working on exactly what Dev said, which was campaigns, and now we're working on, marketing plans. We're talking 2-3 years and sometimes even playing with 5-year digital marketing plans. And we're able to do that now because we've been able to pull all the resources together and offer actually a full marketing plan. In the past, maybe you were consulting for the local division for an enterprise, but that may not be the case anymore. Now we're doing their website development, landing page, AdWords, their social media campaigns on Facebook, video marketing, video creation, as well as the local. I mean, it's all connected. But when you do that, we can literally, help them build a huge brand and a huge digital asset online. And we can then at that point start talking about, marketing plans that are 2 or 3 years long, not just a 6-month plan or 12-month plan or even just a project that is for, a period of time. So it's much more exciting for us as well.
Okay, great. Excellent. Thanks, Matt. That's a great answer. Just got, I think, 3 more questions for you guys. Okay. So thinking back to when you both ran your own independent agencies, even going back to the time when you sort of started your agencies and you were kind of building up, knowing what you know now about the kind of the partnership and the power that kind of brings to you, what would you have done differently when setting up your agencies the first time around?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, Matt, why don't you go first, and I'll also go to Dev after. So Matt, go first.
Yeah, so I learned a ton by partnering with these guys, and I guess even just running the agency, I guess that if there was someone else who was starting an agency like we are, if I was to start over again and I could talk to myself, probably the number one thing I tell myself is to charge more to clients, and build more value into the business and think more longer term. Like, we just talked about these longer marketing plans of 2 or 3 years. Like, we didn't think of it back then. I don't think anybody did. It was more of a consulting tape basis and project to project type work. But today, I mean, digital is not just one channel anymore. There's literally hundreds of channels off that digital sprout that need help with it, and really it's growing. I just wish I had known how much value and how much we were actually helping companies. I think I undervalued what the return on investment was for companies. So that would be the conversation I'd be having with myself. Charge more and bring more value to the table that way.
Okay, great, Matt. Thank you very much for that. And Dev.
Yeah, so I think going back, and if I were to do it all over again, what I would have done is got out of the building more and met with clients and grown relationships more that way. I think I learned a lot more in terms of the last 4 or 5 years, the soft skills that are associated with knowing a client's plans about their own business, because depending on the size of client you're working with, you might be meeting directly with the owner of the business, going all the way up to a C-level person or maybe a senior VP of marketing, for example. But everybody's got their own vision, and I think that one of the things we could have done better is, and I think probably as an SEO community overall, is we know what, on a tactical level, the things that need to be done. Yes, you need to have claimed listings. Yes, you need to build citations. Yes, you need lots of reviews. So we do a lot of preaching, I think, overall for our clients' businesses. But I think it's equally important to be able to sit down with them and say, where do you want your business to go? And to work backwards from there to say, here are the things that need to happen, and here are some options that you can pick, basically. And if we did that, then the approach would have been so much more collaborative as opposed to more recommendation, audit, recommendation, that sort of back and forth. And often we wonder why, as consultants, often we'll give really hardcore good recommendations, but sometimes they don't always get implemented. And I always go back to, was it the right implementation for the right client at the right time? And if you could have given a better recommendation had you known what the client wanted in the first place, for example. The second thing that I probably would have done is invested in a training program right from the start. We did a lot of ad hoc type of training, but one thing I've learned from Matt is the power of doing videos, for example. So anytime you're teaching anything, record it, do a screen share of it, ideally do a transcription of it as well, and then start organizing that in terms of training. So the value of building digital assets, not only in websites or in copywriting or link building, but also in training as well, would have been a huge asset of building a knowledge base for the agency as it started to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Dev. That leads on to a question actually specifically for Matt. So, Matt, before you joined forces with Powered by Search, you ran your agency that was called Small Business Online Coach. That was obviously quite a specific sort of brand name, and it really kind of shouts about the coaching aspect of sort of the service you might provide. But you were obviously a fully fledged agency providing a whole kind of range of kind of search marketing services. Having a name like Small Business Online Coach and it sounding quite specific, did you ever come up against issues with clients maybe misunderstanding your offering or having to kind of sell the wider services a bit harder because maybe the brand name didn't quite match up with the range of services that you offered?
Yeah, totally, Miles. Like, it's interesting. So when I started as Small Business Online Coach, it was literally supposed to be more about coaching. But what happened was I started coaching with some small business owners. At the end of the day, they just were like, you know what, can you just do this for me? So it turned into more of an agency type thing. But interesting enough, like you said, as we started to grow, I even had some larger clients that we were starting to retain, and the name started becoming actually a problem. And what I mean by problem is they didn't want, them to be necessarily associated with our name. They wanted it kept quiet. Like, not, sometimes when you build a website, they didn't want it, at the bottom, sometimes they give you a credit or, website developed and designed by. They didn't want that put down there. And so I started shortening the name to actually SBOC. But even then, they were worried that it was linking off to something that said small business instead of it being sort of enterprise associated with. So name does matter. So if you were, if there's someone out there that you're talking to about creating an agency, you really need to put a lot more thought into the name. And to be honest with you, if I could go back, I probably would never have chosen that name at all. It just, again, like I said, I had no plans on being in this industry. I kind of just stumbled into it by accident. And so that's definitely something you want to put more thought into. And, Powered by Search is a great name. That's a fantastic name.
Great. Thanks, Matt. One final question for you, kind of stemming on from Matt's answer then, in terms of thinking that he was going to be providing advice to small businesses, and they turned around at the end of the day and said, can you just do it for us? Obviously, the agency consultancy market is thriving right now. A lot of SMB business owners just don't have the time, the headspace, or the inclination to kind of really understand the detail that's required in local search and kind of see it through themselves. Do you ever see a time when small business owners are going to become more empowered, when it's going to become much simpler and easier for them to do it themselves, where agencies and consultants will struggle to kind of survive as a middleman? Or do you think the complexity of local search is going to be around for some time, and that the agency consultancy model is there forevermore? Dev, why don't you go first on that one?
I think the complexity is going to be there for a while, Miles. Every year we see one of these SEO is dead, long live SEO type articles. I've been seeing them since 2006 when I entered the industry, and every year there's a counter article that's written about, like, as long as there are search engines and people use search engines, there will be a need for SEO. I think local search is a lot like that, because even with tools which savvy business owners can use, such as yours, for example, or just pay down Yext, for example, to build listings. There's some things that I think that business owners will still need a lot of help with, like how to solicit reviews, for example. One of the things that we notice a lot, actually, when we put call tracking on our SMB clients' websites, for example, is that they often need help even with things like sales training, or even picking up the phone, for that matter, right? So there's a lot of areas around marketing and sales, let alone if you sort of keep local search and the complexity of it to the side, that I think SME business owners need help with. And often I notice in our capacity as a marketing consultant, we're doing a lot more than just local search for them. And it's often getting on the phone and coaching them about how they should even be handling a sales call, for example, or an inbound inquiry. And I think that's where the value is, right? So value is a combination of the a practical value. So your perceived value is basically a combination of your practical value and the intrinsic value. And the practical value that we drive for our clients is, yes, we make the phone ring, we fill out lead generation forms for the SME clients. They are able to get a new stream of business and revenue from that. But the intrinsic value is being able to partner with an agency that cares about your business, understands your industry, and is capable of providing marketing advice and consulting that spans well beyond the stated deliverables that we're set out to do. That's why we do the coaching. That's why we do the education, for example. It's also one of the reasons why clients stay with us for such a long time. They see that intrinsic, not quantifiable, but very qualitative type of aspect of like we've got their backs and we're part of their team.
Okay, great. One final question for Matt. Matt, if you're giving advice, if you give one key piece of advice to anyone sort of starting a small agency today, looking to kind of grow it, what would that advice be for them?
To grow the agency. So it's a great question, and I'm a systems guy, and so I believe that if you're going to do something more than once, they need to turn it into some sort of training or system. And it doesn't matter whether it's for their own team or whether it's for the client education. I'm really, really big on that. So, we do that all the time here, and I've been doing that for a long time, and it's extremely effective for both. I was just making, I don't know how many videos I made this morning, like 3, 4, into something that it's a process that we do, and so instead of like, just saying it to one person individually, I make it a little bit more general and put some rules around it and put it out so that we can duplicate ourselves. You only have so much time in a day, so anytime you can clone yourself out, try and do it. The same thing with clients. Like, not only do I find it effective as in like, being able to use the same video over and over and over again, but it's also good for them because, they don't necessarily quite understand how all this stuff works. And sometimes a simple 2-minute screen share video will do that for you. So that's probably my most valuable tool, I'd have to say, in growing an agency, is using screen capture videos and creating systems out of that. That'd probably be one of many tips that we could offer as growing an agency.
No, that's great. Yeah, we use a lot of videos internally here as well. So guys, I've taken up a lot of your day. Thank you very much for answering my questions. I do appreciate it. Everyone, thank you very much for watching this installment of Talking Local. Have a great day wherever you are. Thank you.